Good morning and welcome to Tower Gardening Made Easy and our weekly podcast. Let's talk about it because as gardeners, we have a lot to say. And as usual, I've got a great show for you guys. And we're going to start this off with a phone call that we never ever want to get. So you want to stick around and stay tuned for that. Okay, so let me just give you the background on this. The school called today. We never want to get that phone call. And said that water is splashing out of the top of the tower between where the lights attach, and not from the opening ports, but between the lights. So we're just going to go through this video very slowly and just kind of take a look at what's going on because there's a few things I have to say. Okay, so obviously the seedlings is the first thing that we can take a look at. They're not very happy. I'm not quite sure what they're growing them in because the rock wall looks like completely disintegrated. The nutrients are way off, the pH are way off. There's water leaks and lots of algae growing. It's in rough shape. So let's keep going. That's the first thing. But see the water there trickling on the floor, and then okay, that it's coming from the top. Right there. Let me just pause this. So, this is a school. This is an institution where we send our children. It's supposed to be safe. Now, I don't know the whole backstory to this, but I do know, and as you watch my videos, I am really um, on point in terms of you're dealing with water and electricity. And again, this is a school, and most schools are usually built of cement and brick and this and that, and they're safe. But I'm sure whoever called her may have been a cleaning person, a janitor, a fellow worker, could have been someone in the office. These are all highly skilled people. Now, let's take a closer look. The tower has been rolled onto what looks like a garbage bag. They're using it as a tarp. And I'm sure they cut it in half and then they roll the tower on it. But wouldn't it make more sense just to unplug the tower? Because the seedlings really aren't doing that well anyway until the teacher got there to kind of figure out what's going on. It probably needs to be tightened. It probably needs to be cleaned. But the fact that it's just pouring out, and let me just back up for a minute. You have the timer right there. So the tower pump is plugged into the timer because it makes it go off every 45 minutes. It's sitting in water. And most people would be going, oh, that's probably not very good. I probably should stop that so that it doesn't short out the whole school. But I just was blown away that some teacher, somebody, just rolled it onto a tarp so it wouldn't hurt. It looks like the cement or carpet or something right there, and the ports off. I mean, this tower is in really rough shape, and I don't know anything that's actually going to grow really well in that. But the scary part is, and I'm just going to roll it back so we can see this one more time. You got water. It's cascading. It's cascading out of the tower onto the tarp that if you just turn it off, the water wouldn't be coming out. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen to this, but again, I didn't get the backstory and I definitely did not get the ending of it. But I was just blown away that this was a school that they were calling the teacher going, hey, your tower, blah, 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 when all they had to do was just shut it down so that A, the school stays safe, the kids stay safe, no one gets electrocuted, and you wouldn't have to worry about putting a tarp because the water would just stop flowing. So, oh, our school systems, I'll leave that one there. Let's go ahead and move on. All right, so if anyone caught my videos this weekend, I dropped a video that was really near and dear to my heart, and something I can say that I was a little on the struggle bus too. So y'all know I've got 9 towers, and I've been going by the gold standard of tower garden to the T, which is 20 milliliters per gallon in the towers. And if you're doing seedlings, then you want to cut that back to 10ish. But that doesn't necessarily work, and you do need to top off your towers, and there is buildup. So I really wanted to do this video, and I wanted to make it for people like me who are just not struggling, but just want to understand the basics without being a scientist. Because I just want to be a gardener. Like, I just want to grow my food. I want to enjoy my towers. I want to come here and I want to teach. And that's what this video is all about. I made nutrients so easy that you can't get it wrong. You need 2 meters. You need the PDF form from my website. Go there and download it. And between the 2 meters and that form, you can top off your towers anytime you want. And I'm going to show you how. I want to go through this again today and clear up any questions. So if anybody's here that wants to go live and ask me a question, you can. And if you want to send me an email, you can send it to towergardeningmadeeasy@gmail.com. You can go through the website. You can leave it in the comments down below in the video. And I promise I will get back to you because it's not complicated. But I understand if you've got a multi-tower. And at the end, I'll touch on that one more time. So the video, again, I got the little red wagon to make it simple. The red wagon is just simplicity, like when we were kids. And that's it. I don't like the word dummy. I know somebody's done a video and there's tons of books of different varieties of dummy this, dummy that. To me, I think that that's wrong. I think that there's different skill levels for everybody, different levels of education, and everybody should be who they are. And I don't like that word. So I chose to do it in a different form of just simplicity. And I broke it down into 3 compartments, 3 steps, 3 methods. And I'm just going to touch on that briefly today. So let's go to step number 1. Okay. And again, go watch the video stem to stern to really get the full benefit, because today we're just going to touch on a little bit. Step number 1. You're ready to go to the tower because you think that it might need water, or it's time to check your pH at least. The first thing you want to do is just walk up to your tower and just assess what's going on. What do I mean by that? Well, is it seedlings? Are those seedlings now tweenies? Are those tweenies mature? What stage is your tower? That is the first thing you need to do. Maybe like me, you have a tower that's got some tweenies, some newbies, and you've got some mature stuff, so they're constantly rotating your tower. And I did a video on that as well. Go check that one out. So for something like that, I would choose my numbers kind of in between. So if your ranges, let's just say, are 1 to 4, I'm going to do a 2. Again, I'll get to that in just a second. So on that form, and I'm going to show you, there are 2 columns that I highlighted. One is EC and one is pH. And so when you get to the tower, you assess to where it is. You want to test the pH first. Just get that raw number, okay? And then you want to take a second meter and get the EC. Go to your form. Let's look at both, okay? So this tower that I did in the video was summer squash, and I believe the pH on that was, I think, 5.6 to 6. And mine was a little bit high. So then I did the EC, and it was a little bit low. I believe it was 1.8. So it's the majority of what's on that tower was mature, and I've got some, lots of blooms that are male, not female. And I'm like, where are my actual zucchinis, which are the females? So they come once the plant is mature. And I needed to give it proper nutrients. So I have been doing this system with all of my towers now for several weeks to kind of test it, and it's working beautifully. We're going to get into that even deeper in a minute. So that range for me was low on the EC and high on the pH. So we're going to correct the EC, and I'm going to slowly add nutrients by like 10 milliliters at a time. That's it. Just drop it in. You're going to stir up that water. You're going to stir it like a tsunami, because remember, the water is in your basin, and the nutrients are heavier than water. So what are they going to do? They're going to rest on the floor of that reservoir. So stir those guys up. Then you're going to retest your EC. Now, when I did this in the video, it popped back to, I think it was 1.9 and change. And for me, that's all I need. I don't need to go any further that day. I'm probably actually going to test it again today, because now it's Wednesday, and see where we are. So I've got some female fruit that are ready to pop those flowers to self-pollinate. So I might give it a little bit more. Let's just see what it reads. And then after that, once you get that number that you like, that's in accordance to that form, then I'm going to test the pH again. And because the nutrients got in there, it actually lowered my pH into the range that I needed. I think it was like 6 and change. Fine. It's fine. It's close enough. So then we were good, and we can then go ahead and move. So I'm kind of jumping ahead of here. So step 2 is basically treat. Excuse me, test. That's where you go in with your meters and get all of the information and then go to your form and then double check it. So this is if the majority of your tower is built out like mine. It's all zucchini. Now, what do you do if it's multi? So what I would do is I would take a piece of paper, and I've got one cucumber, I've got 2 tomato, 1 pepper, and maybe you've got some type of squash. I would go to the form, and I would take the middle numbers. So if it was 2 to 4 is the range, then I would do maybe 3, something in the middle of all of them, and find the middle that you can use and go ahead and use that number for that tower. It doesn't need to be exact, but it needs to be close. And then check it every couple days. It doesn't take long. Now, let's just say you get to your tower and you go ahead and you test that EC and it's high, like really high. So the range is like, say, 2 to 4 and it's a 6. How do you bring it down? All you do is add water and keep those extra gallon jugs, as you'll see in the video. Dump in 1 gallon at a time, swish it around, and test. Test the pH. And then find your balance. Maybe you need to add a little more water. Maybe now your pH is too high, so bring it down, with your pH levelers. So that is step number 3. Sorry, I'm going a little out of sequence here and rushing this. So step number 3 is treat. Assess, test, and treat. Do it in very, very small increments. And do it a couple times a week. Now, let's just say you have a tower that really needs to be topped off. Okay, so before, what I would do is I would take my 5-gallon Home Depot bucket and I would dump it. Usually 2 of them is about half, so it's about 10 gallons. And then I would do the gold standard formula of what Tower Garden taught me. No more. You fill that sucker up to where you want. I would leave a little bit of gap at the top, because remember, if you were to go to that tower and it's a little high, you need room to be adding a gallon at a time to bring down the levels of the nutrients if they're too concentrated. And again, you got to bring them up, small increments. Now, I use that little white cup that the towers come with, but I'm going to go ahead and order the Dopplers. Actually, I'm going to do it today. And that is in my Tower Garden Essential Garden Needs. It's just a little Doppler. It looks like a turkey baster, and you can draw 10 milliliters at a time in the dropper, and then you can dump it into the reservoir and swirl that up real hard. Now, the other thing, as I mentioned in the video, don't put your hand in there. The other thing is, I'm going to look for a really long wooden spoon on Amazon, something that you don't even have to get your hand wet, because again, you're dealing with what? Electricity and water. So it's better to be safe than have a little accident. So I've seen people just reach right in there. Don't do that. Unplug it if you really got to get in there and do something with the pump, or get some roots out of the way. Just be safe. And I'm going to continue to say that in these videos, because I don't want someone to get hurt. It would really just be, it'd be sad. So play it smart. But 3 steps: assess, test, and treat, and then you could always go back to that video. Now, the one thing that I did not do at the end was really demonstrate how to, change your pH. And so I want to explain that real quickly. Our pH bottles are much smaller than our nutrient bottles, and it has a tiny little cap. So all I do is, if I need to bring down my pH and I'm using the Flex, I usually do 1 cap at a time. Swirl that in there. Okay, and then I retest. Now, let's just say I got it in there, and now it came down just a little bit, but I got to bring it down a little bit more. Do a half cap, swirl it around, and sometimes I even wait 30 seconds for it to really just settle, because again, you're adding something that looks like water, but there's matter to it. So these meters have to read it. So give it just a second, put it back in, and that hopefully will do the trick, unless it's really, really off. But you don't want that, because that means that you're not checking your pH at least twice a week, and your nutrients at least twice a week. It's not difficult. You just go around to your towers and quickly do it. you have your form. My other tip is make sure you put that form, that PDF, you could always reprint it, but put it into those plastic sleeves, or you could trim it and put it in Ziploc bags and then put it together so they don't get wet. Because your hands inevitably are going to get a little wet, so you're going to ruin it. So CVS has them, Staples has them, but yeah, cover them in plastic. Now, here's the great part. I'm now going to show you the proof. Okay, so remember when I did Clone It Like Kevin? Those were clones that I pulled off, or little cuttings off of my main tomato tower, and I put them into Rockwall in that video, and then I put them into their own tower. Now, 2 weeks, I did an update called 2 weeks from clone to flower, and I'm not kidding. How did that happen? Because I was using this method of assess, treat, or assess, test, and treat. Say that 10 times fast. And they actually, at this point, I went down this morning and I've got a lot of flowers. I actually had to take my little handy toothbrush over there and vibrate a couple of them. So probably within a week or two, I'm actually going to have some cherry tomatoes on that tower. So I want to show you that now. Okay, so this was the video. This is the update. You can actually take a peek at that. And then a close-up right here where you can see the flower in my hand. And I will be doing another update probably in a week or two, because I want you to actually see the fruit. When it grows, it's really teeny tiny. So I need to actually get it a little bit rounder, not necessarily ripe, but just rounder, so it's substantial on the camera. But this was part of the video. So let's go ahead and watch that, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so I'm just holding the camera, and I just want to point this out to you. Look at this.
Guys, this was 2 weeks. I'm not kidding you. I didn't do anything special. This was just a brand new tower that the water was treated with the proper nutrients and it had the correct pH. I was checking at this point probably twice a week. And because I considered this, when I assessed the tower, I considered it new. So I went on that lower scale for tomatoes, because this tower is strictly tomatoes. And I also, the other stuff that I didn't mention in this video was those covers. Remember, I talked about the algae. Now, if you got algae on your rock wall, it's going to slow down the growth. So when I planted out this tower with these clones, I instantly put those cones around, or the covers around the base of the tomato, and I kind of stuck them into the tower a little bit, so it was just a round, almost looked like a dog collar. And when I did that, it blocked out any excess light. And so I think that also played a part, that no algae can grow, because if you don't give it light or you don't give it water, it can't grow. So that was a third component to get these guys to where they are now. I mean, they're huge. I'm like, any day I keep saying I gotta get that trellis on there, because it's gonna need that support, and I'm not ready. I wasn't prepared to be another, tomato mommy and not have my trellis up. I definitely feel unprepared. Gotta do this. So as a matter of fact, it probably needs to happen today or tomorrow, because it's amazing, the growth on these guys. So let's keep watching.
This is 2 weeks, and I have flowers. Now, when I propagated these, clone them, whatever you want to call it, again, look at these flowers. I made sure that the only thing that was existing was a nice straight stem and a healthy leaf. And there were a couple that had teeny tiny, buds that maybe would.
That's the other thing in the video. If you're going to do this step where you take the cutting, actually you can see there right there to the left, you can see one of those black little cones around the base stem. Make sure that, I lost my train of thought. So you got the cones, and then you've got the growth. Oh, yes, and then
Turned
we'll
into
keep watching.
flowers,
Sorry.
and I cut them off because all I wanted this.
That was my train of thought. Sorry about that. So when I did the cuttings off the main tower, um, I made sure that if any of them did have any buds that were starting, I cut them off, because all I wanted these clones to do was to grow roots, get the roots stable, and then they can do what they want. So yes, definitely trim them back.
Clone to do was focus on growing roots. That's its only job. I didn't want it to be producing anything other than just making the bottom of the plant as healthy as possible so that it could be nice and strong. I mean, look at this guy. This is like 4 times the size. And I'm going to show you. You got to stay to the end of the
I wish I had put a time lapse camera on these guys. I really, really should have because they grew so fast. Maybe at some point I'll do that on its own and show you how quickly this grew.
video. I'm going to prove to you with the Clone It Like Kevin video. This is, I mean, the one that I put in um, right out of the nursery, though after I demonstrated, I believe it is this one right here.
So let me just explain that just a little bit. So the seedlings that I planted, they were in the nursery for about a week, with the exception of this one, because this is the one that I did live, like on camera, and then, obviously posted the video. I never even put it into the nursery. So I still would think you should put them in the nursery for at least a week. I did that as a test and it worked perfectly. But I wouldn't, if you guys only have a couple little areas for tomatoes, just put them in the nursery to be on the safe side so that you don't lose it. Um, it you know, and if I were to do this again, which I probably will, I definitely will, put them in the nursery because what's a week? Let's continue.
It's just amazing. And they all have, like right there, there's buds. On most, I would say 90% of these, I have tiny flowers. Again, right there. And they're about.
Also, too, just another little tip. All of these clones, I would say 99.9% of them was never a dark leaf, a yellow leaf, or spotting. On the very bottom, there was one that had two little leaves that were slightly yellow, but I think that's more of a lighting issue than anything else because it had all new growth above it, a little transition. It's, sometimes those bottom ones you put in the tower, they just don't get enough light. So I do think that was a lighting, had nothing to do with nutrients, pH, or maybe transition. But yeah, they all did amazing.
Wow.
I'm so
So I'm a
impressed.
little nervous that I don't have my trellis ready because once they start to produce fruit, they're going to get a little heavy and I got nothing to rest them on. So I'm going to
Today,
get
trellis.
cracking and probably go to Michael's and start to, make one. Um,
Okay, I think I have the dowel. I just need to go get those metal rings, or I need to do it. It needs to happen because these things are going to get heavy once they start to fruit. So the proof is in the pudding, people. When you use these 2 meters, your towers are going to completely transform. You can go to the towergardening madeeasy.com, go under the nursery essentials because both meters are right there. And you can refer back to this video. You can refer back to, the one I did on Sunday about the nutrients, or you can contact me directly. I'm happy to help you. So let's go ahead and move on. All right, what is wrong with my cucumber leaves? Well, let me just start with this. Cucumber plants in general, they're very easy to seed, they're very easy to grow, and sometimes they're not the prettiest. They're the prettiest when they're in the tweeny phase and they start to really give off a lot of these beautiful yellow flowers, and then they're everywhere. So where you grow indoors, I'm constantly vacuuming them up or sweeping them up. But they still throw off fruit. They're just, I don't know, they're just not very pretty. I'm constantly, pruning off some of the leaves. They just get old and you just need to do that. But they're flowering and they're fruiting, and that's really all I care about. However, you still want to check. So I screenshotted the form. This is the vegetable. The first column is pH, the second column is EC, and the correct numbers are 5.8 to 6.0 for the pH, and your EC should be 1.7 to 2.5. Now, the meter, it's going to read a 4-digit number. You only want to read the first 2 numbers. So it might say 1725. All you care about is it says 1.7. That's it. Don't worry about anything else. We are not scientists. It doesn't even matter. Even in the video, I say it. I told everybody just once what EC stood for, which is electrical current, and I said what ppm stood for, which was parts per million or something. Again, it doesn't matter. Follow the numbers. Test twice a week. your towers are going to be amazing. I promise you. So this picture right here is just, it's a mature plant, and the leaves do that, but it looks like it's got some beautiful flowers. They grow in clusters, and some even self-pollinate. But be sure to put a fan. I can't tell whether this is inside or outside. If it's inside, you definitely want a fan or open a window. And if you're outdoors, then the bees will do the trick. So I wouldn't really worry about it. Let's move on. Okay, I saw this and I love it. I just got to move my controls out of the way here. This is a family. Obviously, they're in a tropical place and they've got their towers outside. And the one thing I have learned, especially with my husband, is that when you have families that grow together, they stay healthy together. They're living a lifestyle. So when I do nutrition for people, but I still do it, I really try to encourage them to get their partner involved. If one person's doing it and the other's not, it's very difficult because one person advances and they start to look really, really good, and the other one's kind of falling behind. But usually they catch up once their partner starts looking, pretty sexy. But what I loved about this is that it looks like this is a grandmother, and the mom had posted this, and their kids are involved. So kind of like the teacher, but the teacher really wasn't doing her job because the water's all over the floor and the ceilings look like hell. But this person's been doing tower gardening for 10 years. I wish I had discovered this 10 years ago. I really, really do. Um, it's just amazing when she's got her two grandsons. I think there's three children in total. They're doing the seedlings, they're labeling them, and she's teaching them along the way. These are values that these kids are going to have for a lifetime, and to understand to eat vegetables, be healthy, and live a long life without pain and suffering. So I love it. And even the grandma she looks really, really good. And the kids, they're good. They're super, super cute. So let's just play through this. Okay, so isn't he not like a little cutie pie? Like he's so little compared to that tower. This tower is really tall. But it looks like she's just growing some basic things. She's got some lettuce. It looks like maybe collard. I'm not sure on that one. But I see some either dill or something on the bottom, and then she's got a little tiny one on the very, very bottom. But yeah, he's a cutie pie. So I'm going to stop this right here. These are herbs. So she is growing a little bit of herbs on this. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into herbs in this podcast in a minute. But I just wanted to stop that this was an interesting way of her drying them. So it looks like she took some, they look like little sacks that you could buy like at Michael's. I've seen them like in the wedding section for favors. There are those little net bags, and you stick them in there, and I just love how she's got them pinned up on the cabinet right there. Like what a great idea! So they don't scatter all over the floor, but it's a wonderful idea. I mean, do we not love that? Like, look at this family. Even the dog is there. The dog looks happy. So, and the kids look huge compared to the towers. And I love our little setup too. I love how they're just on the mulch. They look relatively, level. It's hard to tell until you put the water on, but it looks like she's just got a great setup for her family and the kids. The kids look happy. Like they want to be there. They want to grow. So kudos to this family. All right. All right, let's do this. All right, if you can dream it, you can grow it on your tower garden. Yes, as a matter of fact, I really stand by this, with the exception of, I think, some root stuff. The kohlrabi is, I've seen people do it, and that's a pretty aggressive thing to do, but you can do it. It's going to be a little bit smaller. I personally have never had it. I think I actually might go to the grocery store and maybe try it before I grow it. But I look at it and say it's really pretty and interesting, and it's would be, I think, a challenge to grow on the tower. Now the other picture they've got that down that bottom corner is cucumbers. Well, those are relatively easy to grow, and I'm growing them. But the kohlrabi caught my eye, and I just go, yeah. So you really can grow anything. Somebody asked me, was it last week we did the podcast? Can you grow watermelon inside? As a matter of fact, yes, you can. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Very small, little tiny ones. I want to say I have two that are pollinated. So you got to stay tuned. I just need to get them a little bit bigger to make sure they are pollinated. And then I'll probably take one of my time-lapse camera. So if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. That was the first one, little teaser. It'll get a little bit longer, and I'll do another one. That was the peppers dancing. So there's two cameras, one that's doing the peppers, which I posted, and then the other one is on just some basic lettuce. I got to do that for people because it's a really fast growing seed, and it doesn't take long. And again, it's grown. The point of these time lapses is that it shows you if you have a nursery set up, you've got the warming mat and you've got your lights and you give it water and you're growing it in the rock wall, you have perfect conditions. And over a span of time, and I think the lettuce is being time lapsed every 15 minutes, and I think the pepper is every 30 minutes. Um, they grow really, really fast. So it just shows you that it's a perfect condition. And the easy part is the nursery. The hard part, as I mentioned on Sunday in the nutrient video, is once you get them in the tower and how to treat them there. So you spend all that time and money making seeds to seedlings, and then we blow it when they get to the tower. But my video that I did is going to correct all that. So make sure that you watch it and understand it. And again, I'm here for you. But yes, you can dream it, you can grow it. I highly support that. And I love this one. So I'm doing zucchini. That was the tower that we did on that uh, the video. And mine does not look like that because this is outside, mine's inside. But I guess if I let it get crazy, that's where it could go. But I will say that the bigger it does get, the bigger the fruit. And I do have some pretty good females that are growing. They need to pop so I can pollinate. But yeah, I've so far pulled off two zucchinis off of my other tower. They were really good size, and I've pulled some good summer squash too. So you can do it inside. I am looking forward to the summer of taking two. I'm not quite sure whether it'll be home or flex outside. We are building a pool, and there'll be a little pool house, and I'm going to put electricity out there so I can put the towers next to the little pool house, so they won't be in full sun. They'll have some shade as well. So because my backyard it's facing south, so it gets a lot of sun. So I don't want to fry something. And also do too. I gotta make sure that there's plenty of water at all times. So looking forward to that. But I definitely have zucchini envy. I really do. All right. So the next one we're gonna move on to. Brace yourself. It's kind of scary. So I saw this when I was putting the podcast together this week. And I grow mushrooms. Okay. I have a Martha tent in the old room that I grow shiitake and um, all kinds of oyster mushrooms, chestnut mushrooms, black kings. I've done a lot and I really, really enjoy it. Obviously, I'm not going to be growing this. But I found this to be incredibly interesting that in Chernobyl, they have discovered this black mushroom. Like, I would never eat this. But what it's doing is it's consuming radon. And I'm sure everybody understands what Chernobyl was and the accident that happened. But this is the Earth trying to regenerate. If you go back in time, millions of years ago, it doesn't look like today. And so to me, this is the regeneration or the regrowth or the restart of this region. And I don't know what happens to the mushrooms. I'm assuming that they probably died, but then do they mulch back down? There really wasn't a whole lot on this, but I just saw it and I go, really, really interesting because mushrooms are very good for you. They have a lot of properties. They're super healthy. And I just found this mushroom A to be incredibly scary. But it just means that that part of the world, that little area that was devastated, is trying to regenerate. And I think that's a good thing. So just, I wouldn't recommend eating them or even trying to grow them. Oof, God, scary. Let's go on to things that aren't so scary. All right, I love this one because I've had this issue. Help! I have two tower garden lights that are blinking constantly. I have to unplug, plug back in, check the timer, blah, 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 blah. So one of the towers that I purchased that was secondhand, that was brand new, the girl never really even fully set it up. She took one of the light wands and had it on backwards. So if you're familiar with the light setup, it comes where the wands have to be connected. Now, on the interior, there's a little box. It's a male and female clip, and you have to clip it together. And then you have to squish that little box in the top of the white cap part of the dome. And then you have to connect the wand. And you have to do it in a certain way that you're not pinching wires. And you need to make sure that you put it on correctly. So I had one that was backwards. And I was like, why is it blinking? It was just, I couldn't get it to straighten out. I couldn't really figure out to fix it. And then I started to look at the lights and realize that this clip was backwards. The thing with these lights, I don't know if it's a design flaw. I'm going to say potentially it is. The clips are really hard to undo. So there was something on Facebook Marketplace. It was a tool that somebody made from a 3D printer, and you can go and kind of research that. He sells it, I think, for $20. You have to get somebody with a very strong grip. Take like a cloth and put it over that button and really push in. And at the same time, you have to separate it. So it almost takes two people. So if you have one that's blinking, check to see that it's backwards. And then you got to get two people to help you and get that unclipped, or you can research that tool. But I don't know that I trust it because, what happens if it breaks that cover? And these lights are not inexpensive. I want to say they're around $300 new. There is, in my region, I know somebody up in the Northeast Pennsylvania range, they've got a set for sale. So if someone's looking for that, go check it out in the Facebook Marketplace. But yeah, the lights are essential. You have to have them. I love the design. I've seen all kinds of different lights out there. And they work. They're grow lights, but they're strung up here, tied to metal racks. People have gotten incredibly creative with them, so that's a good thing. But these really are the standard, from Tower Garden, and they fit on top. And the newer models, that curve part, that octopus part, is really stiff. Now the old ones, not so stiff. So if you were to put the light up, so say you were working in the tower, it will come crashing down on you. So I have one of those old towers too that I bought secondhand. So something to be careful if you're buying a used tower. Ask somebody, was this outside, inside? Was this, what year did you buy it in? Try to get towers that were bought within the past couple of years. Anything older than that, then the models have changed. Even the dolly has changed. It's much better now. So the other one, I think, was metal, and it had a very strange design that didn't really cover the bottom. It had some little stand that I could see you could, kick your foot on, and if need be, and hurt yourself. So they have developed over time. And then I actually heard a rumor today on Facebook that they came out. I've seen this one with a new base color. It was a terracotta color, and now they're floating around making different colors. So they kind of put a little probe out there and say, what color would you buy? And the colors from terracotta to blue to pink to red. And I think it's great because you could color code them to your room decor, or say you have an outdoor area that you've got blue cushions or blue pots outside and you really want them to be color coded. So that'd be great. I mean, I think the green is fine because it's just garden, but it would be kind of fun to have, some colors to kind of, break up all the green. So definitely keep your eye on Tower Garden because they're trying to make more products, which is really exciting. And I would love to see them do some of the other models out there. I've seen like walls of hydroponic, aeroponic systems, not big, but small, where instead of being big and round, you could place it up against the wall where the ports kind of go across. And then you could plant like your greens there instead of the baby green. You could focus on that tower being staple stuff like tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, watermelon, whatever you're growing, peppers, and then let that wall be your baby green. So if someone's watching or knows somebody at Tower Garden, us little gardeners out there would love to have that with your title on it. I'm still leery of other people's stuff. I really do like Tower Garden. I am an affiliate, but I do love their products. I just don't like the way that they measure their nutrients. So, definitely get your meter, people. You got to get it. So, and you definitely watch the video. And let's go ahead. The next one's going to be kind of fun. I'm going to touch back on herbs. All right. The herbs that don't play nice. What a surprise. I wrestled with mint for over 15 years in a garden. I could not get rid of it. It was in this tiny little raised bed. I think I've talked about it before. And I had all kinds of stuff. I had hydrangea, I had iris. I think at some point I had some other stuff in there too. I don't remember. It was mostly flowers. It wasn't food. But the person who owned the house originally had mint. And every year I would be out there and I would be pulling the sucker up. And the roots go horizontal. And if you don't keep up with it, it strangles whatever it's in its way. So my poor, irises, my bearded irises that I loved every year, they would get killed by this mint, and I'd be out there just, I couldn't kill it fast enough. I couldn't like rip it up. They would grow back. So I will say the first thing, do not put mint in your tower. That is number one. Put it in a container. Never put it in the ground because it was going to take over whatever you're trying to grow. So let's look at the rest of the list because when I started talking about the mint, thinking about it, I'm like, there's got to be other like companion mints that don't do well in the tower. So let's take a peek at that now. All right. Okay. A little garden drama. All right. So what do we got here? So we got basil and oregano. So basil loves water and humidity. Oregano doesn't. All right. So we can't put those. They clash in climate needs and compete hard for nutrients. So, okay. So be careful because remember, your nutrients, these are just herbs. This isn't really food. It's more flavor, if you will. So, um, if you're going to put them in your tower, it might be better to put them in soil based outside somewhere on a windowsill because you're taking up a whole net pot for something that could be growing tomatoes, could be growing peppers, could be growing whatever you want, the kohlrabi, whatever makes you happy that's going to feed you and your family. I mean, herbs kind of feed you or make a great cocktail, but they take over. So let's keep going down the list. Fennel. I've never grown it, don't really like it, but it says just don't. It releases plant toxins, which I did not know. Very, very interesting, and it can sabotage everything nearby. So there we go. So again, maybe for soil-based container. You want to isolate it. Mint. We just went through the mint. No more mint. No more mint for me. Other than maybe buying it from a grocery store or growing it in a container that I can get rid of when I want. I am completely scarred. All right, what do we got here? Dill, lavender, sage, and parsley. Dill is clingy. Yes, it is. And it will bolt on you like no tomorrow. So you have to keep it trimmed back. You'll get that beautiful yellow flower. And at that point, it's over. It's done. Cut it. It's going to go to seed. And nutrient hungry. So if you've got that in your tower and you're growing food in addition to that, then yes, you need to keep an eye on that because it's going to be sucking those nutrients away from your food. So keep an eye on that. These combos usually crowd each other out. So you don't want it crowding your food. So again, soil based for those guys. Sage and chives. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about chives. So I thought maybe I was going to put some chives on top of the watermelon tower, and I've recently decided not going to do it, and here's why. They're still in the nursery and they're still growing. They're very kind of leggy, but every time I shift that tray, the garden tray that it's in with the rock wall, oh my God, the aroma of onion that comes from the heating mat, the warm water, and the lights, it's like, whoa, it's too much. So I can honestly say that I don't think I'm going to put them in the tower because I don't want my grow room smelling like an onion. And that will drive me crazy. So I think I'm going to go and let them grow as best they can in the rock wall in the nursery. Cut them, maybe use them, put them in the fridge, or throw them out. But I definitely don't want to do that. Maybe outside I'd do it, but inside is a no-no. You can try it for yourself, but I can honestly say that all I got to do is touch it, and the aroma is 10 times worse than the tomato plants. So no, no. All right, so we got cilantro and tarragon. It's a totally different growing style. Cilantro likes it cool and moist. Tarragon wants it sunny and dry. Not compatible. So for me, these guys don't play nice on the tower, and the solution would be just to put them in a really pretty container outside, and then focus your towers for growing food. That's what I would do. And you can always refer back to this, pause it if you need to, and you can screenshot this list, so that you know what is compatible and what's not. That would be the best way of getting that. Say that 10 times fast. So yeah, I started this and I was like, oh gosh, I'm going to do this. I want to share this with people because it is that time of year, and I don't want this killing your towers. So let's go ahead and move on. All right. So if you guys know me, I love squash. Like I said, I've got a whole tower of zucchini and I've got a whole tower of summer, and I just love it. It's so good for you. It's so healthy for you. Um, I just adore it. And I can't say I've actually, maybe I've seen this in the stores, but I don't think I've ever seen anybody grow it. Patty pan baby squash. Like, comment if you guys have eaten it. What does it taste like? Because it's super adorable. And I think maybe when I turn over one of the towers, I think it might be the strawberry tower because I need to go harvest that. I'm really behind on that. It's chock full of teeny tiny strawberries, so I'm going to be doing probably a live video where I start, trimming them out, and then once the flowers stop coming, I'm probably going to take out that whole tower of strawberries. I still have the upper portion that I just planted, but I think I might do something like this patty pan baby squash, in that tower. Get that going, see how that goes. But you got to admit, come on, they're super cute. But I just don't know what they taste like. I think it would be amazing to see that. So yeah, so if anybody's grown that, please, comment below, let me know. But I mean, it comes in all different varieties. I think I'm going to go on to Botanical Interest website a little later today and see what they have for seeds, and maybe order a pocket. So, all right. All right. So I want to thank everybody for joining me today. This was an amazing podcast. I really try to keep this thing under an hour for you guys so you can, watch it back and get what you need. But, you could always go back to that section of the herbs and just cut and paste it, or screenshot it would probably be the best way to keep that handy. But if you haven't checked out the website recently, I've added 2 pages. The first page is the nutrient school, which is the downloading of that PDF form, and the video that you can click on as a reference. Like be super fast instead of having to go to YouTube. It is the YouTube video, but it just makes it simpler. The other page that I built out, as of this morning, as a matter of fact, is the seed cam, as I promised. I can't, unfortunately, make it live at this particular moment. The app, they're going to go ahead and work on that to see if I can't build. There needs to be a link that I can embed into the website, but they do not have that. So on their app, I can download it, and then I can upload it into YouTube and then build it into my website. I know that might be too technical for some of you guys. But what I'm going to do is each of those that I put to YouTube, I'm going to put on the website so that you can just go to the website and click on the seed cam, and you'll be able to pull up all of the time-lapsed videos to see. And I'll try to do a little information on the side, like how long. The one I think I just posted was about 2 weeks worth of growth, and we got 2 more to go. So, but I'm going to be doing all kinds of things with that. It's going to be, doing some squash on there. I'm going to be doing that watermelon as long as they're pollinated. Just some really cool stuff, so you can see it in a time lapse versus, missing it on your tower. I've gone down, and a flower of a zucchini has opened and closed in less than 12 hours. So I definitely want to get that on the time lapse for you. But thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for being in the community. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Continue to grow our community. If you have questions and comments, please post them there. Happy to help you. But I'm really happy that nutrient video is out for people. And maybe we'll do a follow-up with just the pH, because I really didn't touch on that too much. So I really don't want people to be confused. So thanks for joining me, and this will be live, on YouTube for you guys to watch on the recap. So we'll see you next Wednesday at 11.